He slept in the dark for what felt like forever. There was no sound, no light, and no memory. Only the endless silence of a mind lost somewhere between death and dreaming. Then something changed. A faint vibration passed through his skin, like the hum of distant machinery. His fingers twitched. His chest felt heavy as if it had forgotten how to rise. Slowly, painfully, he took a breath. The air burned cold inside his lungs. His eyes opened. At first, there was nothing but blur and shadows. Then came a faint blue glow like light behind thick glass. He was lying on a narrow bed, surrounded by dark walls that pulsed with tiny lights. For a long moment, he didn't move. His thoughts were fog, his body weak. "Can you hear me?" The voice was soft, almost trembling. He turned his head and saw her. A woman, young, pale, her hair tied back in a loose braid. Her eyes were wide with both relief and fear. She wore a gray uniform with faint silver symbols that he didn't recognize. He tried to speak, but his throat was dry. The only sound he made was a rasp. "It's all right," she said quickly. "You've been asleep for a long time." He blinked slowly. His tongue felt thick, his thoughts still sluggish. "Where am I?" The woman hesitated. Her eyes flicked toward a screen on the wall where lines of glowing text scrolled by. "You're safe," she said finally. "That's what matters now. Safe." The word didn't feel true. The air smelled strange, too clean, too thin. And beneath the steady hum of machines, he could hear something else, a deep vibration like the pulse of engines. He tried to sit up, but his muscles protested. She quickly moved to help him, her hands surprisingly gentle. "Easy," she said. "You'll feel weak. Your body needs time." He studied her face. Her skin had a faint silver tint under the blue light, and there was something unfamiliar about her eyes, like a second layer of color shifting inside them. "Not quite human. Who are you?" he asked, voice still rough. "My name is Kale," she said. "I'm your caretaker." "Caretaker?" His brow furrowed. "What does that mean?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she checked a small device on her wrist. "You should rest. Questions later." But his mind was clearing now. Fragments of memory returning. Flashes of light, a battlefield, a ship burning in the sky. A name, Project Dawnlight, echoed somewhere in the back of his mind. He looked down at himself. His body was covered in thin gray fabric. Underneath, he could see faint scars running across his chest and arms. "How long was I asleep?" he asked. Kyle hesitated. 218 years. The words hit him like a shock. "That's impossible." "Your body was preserved in stasis," she said quietly. "You were found drifting in a damaged cryopod near the outer rings. My people recovered you," he stared at her. "Your people?" She nodded. "We are called the Sarathi. We found your vessel. It was ancient, even by our standards. Ancient. 200 years. The numbers spun in his head. Everyone he'd ever known, everyone from his time was long gone. Earth might not even exist the same way anymore. Why? "Did you wake me?" he asked softly. Kale looked at him, and for a moment her calm mask cracked. "Because we needed help," she said. He frowned. "Help from me?" "You are human," she said, as if that word itself carried meaning. "And that makes you different." He didn't understand, but he could see something in her eyes, hope mixed with fear. "What's happening?" he asked. Kyle walked to a large window on the far wall. With a faint gesture, the glass became transparent. He gasped. Beyond the window stretched the black ocean of space filled with distant stars. But they weren't alone. A massive planet hung below, its surface cracked and glowing like cooling lava. Around it floated wrecks of ships, hundreds of them, twisted metal drifting silently in the void. Kyle turned back to him. "That was once our home," she said quietly. "Sarath Prime, now it's gone." He looked at the ruins, feeling a strange ache in his chest. What happened to it? "The silence," she whispered. "The what?" She turned away as if afraid to say more. "You'll see soon enough." He tried to stand, ignoring her protest. His legs trembled but held. "If you brought me here," he said, "I deserve to know why." Kyle studied him, then sighed. "All right, but you may not believe me. Try me." She pressed a control on the wall and a holographic image appeared, a swirling mass of light and dark, moving like a storm. It wasn't a planet or a ship. It was alive. "This," she said, "is the silence. A living void. It consumes everything, matter, energy, thought. It appeared 50 years ago, spreading through our systems. Every attempt to stop it failed." He watched the swirling image, his stomach tight. And you think I can help stop that? Kale nodded slowly. We found something in your ship's records, references to a human project. Something called the Lightborn Protocol. It mentioned using the human mind as a weapon of consciousness. He stared at her, the old memory flashing in his mind again. Project Dawnlight. The experiments, the light, the pain. I was part of that, he said slowly. They tried to merge human thought with energy fields, to create a bridge between mind and matter. Kyle stepped closer. Then you understand why we brought you back. The silence is not just physical. It consumes thought itself. You might be the only being who can resist it. He felt the air grow colder. His body trembled, not from weakness now, but from something deeper. And if I can't? He asked. Kale's eyes met his. Then everything dies. The silence between them stretched long. The hum of the engines filled the air. Finally, he nodded slowly. All right, he said. Show me what I need to do. Kyle looked both relieved and sad. Rest first, she said gently. Your body still remembers the dark. We'll begin when you're ready. She turned to leave, but he stopped her. Kyle, yes? If this works, if I survive. He hesitated, the words heavy. Will I ever see Earth again? She looked at him for a long moment, then said softly, If we save the stars, maybe you'll find it among them. Then she was gone, leaving him alone with the low hum of the ship and the cold light of distant stars. He sat there, staring out into the void, the memories of his old world flickering in his mind, 200 years gone. A new galaxy, a living darkness waiting to devour everything, and him, a man pulled from time to fight it. He didn't know if he could save them. But for the first time since waking, he felt something stir inside him. Hope. The first few days after waking felt like a dream he could not escape. Every step, every breath reminded him how fragile his body was after 2 centuries of stasis. Yet Kale stayed by his side, patient, calm, but always watchful. You must learn to move again, she said one morning. Your body remembers more than your mind. Let it wake. He followed her through the corridors of the Sarathi ship. The walls pulsed with soft blue light, and every surface gleamed as if the ship itself was alive. Screens displayed strange symbols he could not read. Machines hummed with energy, like the heartbeat of some unseen giant. Kale led him to a large chamber, a circular room lined with glowing panels and soft mats. Here, she said, you will train. He frowned. Train? Against what? The silence, she said simply. It moves fast. Faster than you can imagine. And it is coming, he shivered. He still could not see it with his eyes, but he had felt it in his mind. The cold, creeping emptiness that swallowed everything it touched. The thought of facing it made him feel both fear and a strange excitement. Kale placed her hand on a panel. The room lit up in patterns of white and blue. Your mind is key, she explained. The Lightborn Protocol was never just physical. Humans have something the silence cannot touch. Imagination, emotion, memory. It is subtle, but powerful. You are its bridge, he blinked. Bridge? Yes, she said. You can project your consciousness into energy fields. Shape them. Push back darkness. But it is difficult. It is dangerous. You must practice, he swallowed. I don't even know how, Kale smiled faintly. We will start small. For the first hours he tried. Nothing happened. His hands moved, but the energy around him remained still. A faint tingle in his fingertips teased him, but he could not grasp it. The silence was patient, it was always waiting, and it thrived on doubt. You are thinking too much, Kale said, adjusting his posture. Let go, do not control, feel. He closed his eyes. He imagined light not just as fire, but as warmth, as memory, as life itself. He thought of Earth, the sun on his skin, rain on his face, the voices of people long gone. A spark flared inside him. A small ripple of energy danced at his fingertips. Kale's eyes widened. There, she said. Do it again. Let it grow. He focused, and the ripple became a stream of light flowing like water across the floor. He could feel it in his veins, in his muscles, even in the empty chambers of his mind. His heart raced, his body trembled, but he was alive. Truly alive. This is only the beginning, Kale said. You must strengthen it. Control it. If you fail, the silence will not forgive. He nodded, determination hardening inside him. Fear still lingered, but now it was paired with resolve. Days passed. Every hour he trained. His body regained strength. His mind became sharper, and the small streams of light he could produce began to grow. They moved with thought, with will. They became shields, walls, shapes that could push and hold the darkness at bay. Kale observed him silently during these sessions. Sometimes she offered guidance. Sometimes she merely stood back, letting him discover. There was something in her gaze, hope but also a question. Could a human really hold against the void? At night, when the training ended, he wandered the ship alone. He studied the stars, thousands of them. Each light was a reminder that humanity, though small, had once touched the cosmos. He thought of Earth, of the people who had built, dreamed, fought, and all that had been lost. It struck him then. Humans survived, not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to give up. That stubbornness, that hope, was exactly what the silence could not understand. One evening, as he practiced in the chamber, a sudden alarm rang. The ship shuddered, sending him sprawling to the ground. Lights flashed red, and a siren echoed through the corridors. Kale appeared instantly, her face pale. "The silence has found us," she said. "It moves faster than predicted. You must come." He rose quickly, his body tense with energy he had learned to control. "Where?" "To the bridge," she said. "We need to see it." They ran through the corridors, passing rows of Sarathi crew members who were already at stations, monitoring sensors and communication lines. The ship vibrated with the intensity of movement, as though it anticipated the coming battle. On the bridge, the view left him breathless. The void beyond the ship was alive with black clouds, shifting and twisting like smoke. Tendrils of darkness reached out, curling around the edges of nearby asteroids. The silence had arrived. Kale turned to him. "It senses you," she said. "You are different. It knows humans resist it." He stared, fear climbing, but he steadied himself. He raised his hands, and energy flowed outward, bright and golden. The darkness recoiled slightly, as if startled. The crew gasped. "It works," Kale said softly. "You are the first human to do this in centuries." The silence advanced, faster now. Its tendrils wrapped around smaller debris, consuming it, and then turned toward the ship. He could feel its hunger, its desire to erase all thought. He raised his hands higher, concentrating. Memories of laughter, music, and sunlight poured through him. The light he projected grew, forming shields, barriers, walls of energy that stretched across the bridge's viewport. Tendrils struck the light, and for the first time they bounced off. Kale moved beside him. "Keep it steady. Your mind controls it. Do not fear." He focused, digging deep into his humanity. He remembered hope. He remembered fear. He remembered every small act of courage he had ever witnessed or performed. And he realized something profound. Humans could turn emotion into strength. That was the key the silence could never grasp. The tendrils faltered. One hit the shield, writhing, but then recoiled. Another approached, and he directed a beam of concentrated light, piercing it, scattering it into smaller fragments that vanished. The crew watched in awe. Machines whirred as the ship amplified his energy, but the true power came from him alone. Finally, the silence paused, as if reconsidering. Its mass shifted, hesitant. He felt its attention on him, probing, trying to understand why it could not consume him. He clenched his fists, raising the light higher. He felt pain, strain, exhaustion, but he refused to collapse. And then slowly the darkness began to retreat. The void pulled back, drawn away like tide from the shore. Kyle exhaled, relief flooding her face. "You did it," she said. "You held it." He sank to the floor, drained but alive. The light faded, leaving only the soft blue glow of the ship. The silence had not been destroyed, but for the first time it had been resisted, and by a human. The crew surrounded him, their voices full of awe and gratitude. He could feel their hope, their belief. Humans had always been fragile, always been limited, but in moments like this they could shine brighter than anything else. Kale knelt beside him. "You're ready," she said, "but this is only the beginning. The silence will come again, stronger, and you must be ready to face it every time." He nodded, exhaustion giving way to resolve. The universe had changed. Stars burned in the darkness, civilizations had fallen, and countless threats lurked in the void. Yet for the first time in centuries he felt alive and needed. Humans were fragile, yes, but that fragility carried with it something else. Courage, creativity, resilience. That was his weapon. That was the human edge, and he would wield it. He rose to his feet, shoulders squared. The silence might wait, but humanity never stopped fighting. The battle was far from over, but he had taken the first step. And in the vast darkness of space, that step might be enough to turn the tide. In the days after his first encounter, the dark presence did not strike directly, but its shadow loomed closer with every passing hour. The crew of the Sarathi ship worked tirelessly, repairing systems, recalibrating sensors, and monitoring communications from nearby colonies. But every report told the same story. The void was growing, consuming planets, fleets, entire systems with ease, and he, the human, was their only hope. He trained relentlessly, guided by Kale, who pushed him further each day. The energy within him grew stronger, more precise. He learned to shape it, to weave it like a living shield, and to project it outward as blades of pure light. But the true challenge, Kale reminded him, was not power alone. It was understanding that fear and hope could be weapons, that the human mind could fight where machines could not. On the bridge, the ship hovered above a shattered planet. Its core glowed faintly beneath cracks in its surface, and jagged debris spun lazily in orbit. The silence had claimed this world days ago. Kale pointed toward the approaching black cloud. Its tendrils stretched across the void, vast and hungry, reaching for the ship like the fingers of a nightmare. "It knows you are coming," she said. "It can sense the human mind now. You must be ready." He nodded, steadying himself. "I'm ready," he said. The first wave of darkness struck like a hurricane. Tendrils of living shadow lashed at the ship, seeking weaknesses, probing every system. Lights flickered. Alarms screamed. Yet he raised his hands, projecting energy into the void. Shields of radiant light blossomed across the hull, pushing the darkness back. The tendrils recoiled, hissing with a sound that seemed more thought than noise. Kyle moved beside him, coordinating the crew's efforts. "Don't just block it." "Strike," she commanded. "Your energy is strongest when focused." He did. He reached into memory, into every human experience he had ever known. Laughter, love, determination, courage, even sorrow. The light responded, shimmering and pulsing with a golden intensity. The first tendril that lashed out toward the ship met it and was obliterated. The second recoiled, then twisted back as if surprised by its own failure. "This is it," Kale said. "You can push it back, but only if you remain human." The warning struck him. Humans were fragile, easily broken, but they could also inspire, imagine, and hope. That contrast, that spark of life, was invisible to the silence. It could destroy matter, but it could not consume belief, courage, or memory. Those were his weapons. He extended his hands further, feeling the energy surge through him, flowing in shapes and patterns guided by thought alone. He imagined the oceans of Earth, the forests, the cities, and the people. Every memory, every small act of heroism, every story of human resilience became a shield and a sword. The silence attacked again, harder this time. Entire swaths of the void twisted and turned, seeking to overwhelm him. But he met it head-on. Streams of light cut through tendrils like blades through smoke. He could hear the faint wailing of the darkness, a soundless scream as if it understood too late that a human mind could resist what it could devour in seconds. Kale called out, "Concentrate. Every thought, every memory, let it flow." He did. He let go of fear, let go of doubt. And for the first time, he truly felt the strength of being human. The darkness struck again and again, but every strike met a wall of living memory, of hope made tangible. Every tendril that touched him burned and vanished. The ship quaked as the silence tried to adjust, to find a weakness. But it could not. The more it attacked, the stronger his light became. The crew watched in awe, not just at the spectacle of power, but at the undeniable fact that humanity, one human, was holding back a force beyond imagination. Hours passed. Exhaustion clawed at him, but he would not let go. Every part of his body, every shred of consciousness was devoted to this singular purpose. He remembered Kale's words. "Your power comes from being human. Never forget it." And then he realized something else. He did not need to destroy the silence. That was impossible, but he could contain it, hold it at bay, limit its reach. He focused on the pattern of the tendrils guiding them, twisting them back upon themselves. The darkness writhed, uncertain. For the first time, it hesitated. Kale noticed immediately. "Yes," she shouted. "You found the rhythm." He continued, shaping light like a living organism. Tendrils that would have consumed the ship now recoiled and dissolved in the golden energy he projected. The void pulled back, retreating slowly into the distance as if reluctant to leave, yet unable to penetrate the human shield. He sank to one knee, his energy draining, but satisfaction surged through him. The silence was still out there, threatening, ever patient, but he had won this battle. Kale approached, her face a mixture of relief and awe. "You've done something no one thought possible," she said softly. "You've turned the darkness back, even if only for a while." He looked out at the void, the tendrils of the silence retreating like a tide. "It's not enough to fight it forever," he said. "We need a plan. We can't just hold it off. We have to stop it." Kale nodded. "We will. You're the key. The humans once had a project. Lightborn, you said. Perhaps it can be completed now, with your help." He swallowed, thinking of the centuries that had passed, of the worlds lost, and of the fragile hope still burning in the hearts of every being alive. He felt something stir inside him, determination, courage, and a sense of purpose greater than himself. "We'll need everyone," he said. "Every mind, every memory, every story of human courage. If humans are the spark, we must light the galaxy." Kale smiled faintly. "Then let's begin." The crew cheered softly, their voices echoing through the ship. They had seen it, the impossible feat of a single human holding back the darkness. And now they believed, as the human stood on the bridge, surrounded by the hum of the ship and the distant stars. He realized the truth of what Kale had said. Humanity was fragile. Yes, but its fragility carried strength, hope, courage, and the will to survive were weapons the universe had underestimated. He raised his hands again, letting the golden light flow. It spread through the ship, through the vacuum beyond, reaching toward the void like the fingers of life itself. The silence recoiled, twisting in confusion. And in that moment he understood. No matter how vast the darkness, no matter how relentless the void, humans could shine brighter than any fear. And in that brilliance, he found his purpose. The battle had begun. But humanity, through him, would not yield. Not now. Not ever. As the ship sailed through the stars, carrying hope like a torch, he felt the power of being human. Small, fragile, but unbreakable. And in that fragile strength lay the spark that could save worlds. The silence might come again, stronger, fiercer, but it would never understand humans. It could not consume what humans carried in their hearts, their courage, their dreams, their stories. And that, he knew, was enough. He clenched his fists. He would fight. He would protect. He would shine because humans never gave up. Humans never surrendered, and that made them unstoppable.